the live qualifying, first qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix here at Suzuka. Ivan Capelli hoping to do well in front of the Leighton House guests. We already had a red flag when we had Bertrand Gachot crashing out, but qualifying now back underway. And here Capelli, who's given the new Ilmor powered Leighton House car a try at Silverstone last week, and off that's Emanuele Pirro in the Dallara, and it looks as if he was stationary in the car. Pirro, he's not moving, obviously stunned, and that's been quite a big accident. John, what's happened there?
Well, I would say that Pirro was coming out of that left-hand corner, that very fast left-hand corner. There's a bad curb, and if you get your car up that curb, the right rear wheel clambering over the curb, it can cause the car to go into a big spin. Of course, it would spin to the left, and that's a solid wall, in fact, and I think what happened is Pirro has backed his car into it, then bounced all the way down into the Armco, and you've seen in the well, here we are watching it again. Well, it's exactly as we thought. He got not just one, but two wheels, in fact, almost four wheels that went off the track completely. The car then goes into the spin, flies a little bit. Now he's heading straight for that wall. Fortunately, he spins it. The right front hits first. But he gets, I think, really, he's probably been winded more than anything else. The impact, in fact, wasn't that big. It was just probably that initial bounce off the wall. We see Pirro now being assisted away from his car. But in the past, Emanuele, when he's had accidents, he seems to react quite badly to them. And we saw at Nürburgring, at Hockenheim, I beg your pardon, when that start line shunt happened, he backed into the barrier on the start-finish line, and again he had to be assisted from the car. So I don't think Emanuele is suffering very badly, probably nothing more than a severe winding. But here we are now, Tyrrell coming back into the pits.
Yes, unfortunately, John, this time they haven't stopped the session. Here's Alan Prost on his first run of the day. Prost telling us yesterday, John, that he'd love to start on the front row of the grid, and if he did, the McLarens won't see which way he went.
Well, Alan was very ebullient, very confident about the performance of his Ferrari, and he reckons, he's told the team they've got to take every risk possible to ensure that the performance of the car, not necessarily his personal performance, is at its maximum. And let's watch Prost now starting that first qualifying lap. And remember, his Ferrari engine is now at its most powerful at any point during the season, so we should expect something fairly special from Prost. And this is a very technical circuit. It's one of the most demanding of a driver, one of the most demanding from the engineers, because to get your car right, and this sequence here, we're going through these rights and lefts just behind the pits. Of course, now we've cut Tsurugi Suzuki, who's also on a qualifying lap. Suzuki going through the same section of circuit. He's about 10 seconds behind Prost on the track. But this section of circuit is extremely difficult, and it's important because you get the first corner wrong in the sequence, you never ever will recover. Well, here we are back with Prost. He's just finished that sequence now, and he's coming to the part of the circuit. This is the flyover part. You can see him going under the bridge, coming up to the slowest corner on the circuit, this first gear hairpin bend.
So far, John, it's Senna quickest. The time that Prost is looking for is 1:38.851. He's quickest. Mansell second currently, and Berger third. Well, I wonder if Prost can shake that order about.
Well, here we are coming to the Spoon corner, an unusual name for a corner on a racetrack, but again a very long left-hand corner. And again, the exit is so important because it leads on to the quickest part of the circuit. This long, not straight, but meandering straight. Again, coming up to this very, very fast left-hand corner. Prost going through there, probably around about 170 miles an hour, but very wisely, he stays off the curb. Now down into this controversial chicane here, Prost drove into Senna last year and decided the outcome of the 1989 World Championship. Prost now accelerating first, second, third, fourth, fifth gear going across the line now.
And the time 1:39.427. Prost goes fourth. Fiorio not happy with that. And meanwhile, the Lola Lamborghini out on the track. That is Aguri Suzuki, and a lot of fans cheering him. Huge crowd here for qualifying today as Senna waits, thinks. Well, there's Alan Prost slowing down now, having completed that first run. As I said, John, tremendous enthusiasm for this Japanese Grand Prix, and most of the fans seem to have eyes for Senna. A very young audience here. In fact, off there, that is the car of Jean Alesi, and he has done that car no good at all. Seems that virtually all the suspension is smashed, the rear wing hanging off at a crazy angle. Well, I wonder what Jean Alesi did. He had a bit of an incident in the morning practice session. Well, look at that track laying vehicle. I've never seen one of those. That's a little novel.
Well, that's going to drag away what's left of Alesi's Tyrrell Ford, but the right front of the car obviously has had a major impact. The rear of the car, likewise, look at the angle of the rear wing. And I would say that Tyrrell isn't going to see much more running. Certainly it will not run on Friday. I hope that car will be prepared for Saturday, because, of course, that's got one of Brian Hart's special screamers, the Cosworth V8 engine that Hart prepares. Well, here we are, and that's at the end of the pit straight, and really Alesi didn't appear to take the first part of that right-hand corner at all. He just appeared to shoot off. Now, Alesi is the last of the late breakers. Whether he made a mistake or we don't know yet whether that was a mechanical problem. We have had in the past recently a couple of cars with front brake discs explode under braking, and that could have been a problem for Alesi at that point, but until we can find out from Ken Tyrrell at the end of this session what that fault was, we can only speculate. But anyway, Alesi's session in that car well and truly over.
Gerhard Berger pulling out of the pits for his second run, a fresh set of qualifying tyres. Nigel Mansell already out on the track on his second run. And there's Gerhard, yet to win a race this season. Winning this race would, of course, help Ayrton Senna. And there is Nigel, looking forward to driving for Williams-Renault, but still this weekend very committed to Ferrari. John.
Well, indeed he is, and he's given absolutely everything he can to support Alan Prost, on the basis, of course, that he gets equal equipment to Alan Prost. Nigel feels that the only way he can guarantee himself being competitive is to actually say, well, I'm prepared to support Prost under any circumstance, and even if it means giving up victory here in Japan, he's prepared to do that, and that's a fairly high cost Nigel's paying, I must say.
Mansell then onto his quick lap, that long right-hander, and then this very tricky S section, very crashed 3 years ago. See it there, John. You have to be so exacting here.
Well, this whole section of circuit is very, very precise. Mansell, of course, learning, I think, a little bit from those 3 years ago when he had that almighty shunt. And, of course, he didn't go on to race in Australia 2 weeks later, but coming round, this is a slow part of the circuit we're at now, and even slower corner into this right-hand corner, third gear. But he's getting look right across the curb, and, of course, the curb threw him back across the track in front of the Leighton House. Now down this first gear, about 50 miles an hour around there. A little bit of a tail flick coming out, but straightens the car up. And now accelerating through this very, very long and quite difficult, it's a very late apex right-hand corner, coming down into the spoon corner. There's again long left-hand corner where the exit. But here we have, well, it's a Ligier. I wonder, is it Mr. Alliot? We've had Alliot off this morning. Look at Mansell, and well, he didn't. I don't know if he had to really lock up quite so spectacularly as that. It's difficult to judge. It's quite a long camera shot. We've got the red flag up. We've got another stoppage now. This is the second stoppage we've had in this 1 hour session. But Alliot's car plonked right in the middle of the track. Of course, Alliot, most consistent of shunters this season. This is his second accident so far on Friday. And let's have a look. We see Alliot coming out of the corner. He gets the rear wheels across the curb. Car spins, bumps, nudges the barrier. You know, I reckon Philippe Alliot is in line for a major fine for causing unnecessary delays during qualifying. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere along the line a new rule is introduced into Formula One that he who delays qualifying pays for it. Not only does he pay for the damage to his car and the time lost in qualifying, but he pays for the lost time in the running of the session. It's a bad idea, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, there's Philippe Alliot, already dropped by that team, and I doubt if he'll be in Formula One racing next year. Suggestions he might actually be driving the Peugeot sports car team, but he'll have to behave himself a bit more than that. And here is this situation, Nigel whipping round Berger and then locks up all the brakes. So it seems to me, John, enough space there to go through.
Well, I think there was enough space, but of course there had been waved yellow flags, and Nigel had whipped out behind Gerhard Berger. He probably would say rightly that he was avoiding Berger, who was basically on a slow lap, but also had lifted off, having seen the incident sooner. Nigel then sees the car blocking the track. He could have gotten through there, but of course, think of the spectacle of locking up those front brakes. Those set of qualifying tyres now are completely useless. Those front two tyres will be completely flat spotted, so Nigel will not bother with any more qualifying today.
Well, they have stopped the session. Another 5 minutes still remaining, but the positions currently Senna on the pole, provisionally, Mansell second still, Berger third, Prost fourth, and Boutsen fifth. Qualifying back on again, just 5 minutes to go, and a whole train of cars out, but that train led by this man, Ayrton Senna, currently on the pole. Can he improve? Senna dives down to that long, virtually hairpin right-hander. John.
Yes, it's a quick corner, but the second part of it is actually very slow in relation to the first part. But now climbing up behind the pits, this very, I call it, technical section of the circuit. The speed rises and falls. You really don't use the brakes, you just use the throttle like an organ pedal, just pumping it gently up and down. But here now, building up speed in this long left-hand corner, exiting about 160 miles an hour, then on the brakes down to fourth gear, a flick right, and then down into second gear for this much tighter right-hand corner. But under the racetrack, that's the Bridgestone Bridge, which the racetrack goes across, now down into first gear in the slowest corner on the circuit. We've seen Senna in the dying moments of qualifying sessions going out doing these electrical laps and putting the car on pole position. And really, he's only got about 2 minutes left of qualifying in which he can repeat that.
Yes, Senna hoping to improve on that 1 minute 38.851 lap. A little slower than last year, in fact. Kicks up a bit of dust there. Senna, 50 pole positions to his credit. An all-time record and going for the 51st here. Senna telling us yesterday that he did consider using the new V12 car, which is now going so well in qualifying, through that tricky chicane where he lost the World Championship last year, and on to the end of the lap, down the hill. What's it going to be? Senna goes quicker, just 100th of his previous time. Senna's new time, 1:38.828.
But here's his main protagonist, Alain Prost in his Ferrari. And just look at Prost, he's much neater through that chicane, Andrew, and he appears to have a lot more grip through there as well. And he may not have quite the horsepower of Senna, but certainly the Ferrari chassis really does look like it's working that little bit better here than the McLaren.
And he's on the pole, John, 1:38.684. Alain Prost on the pole. Look at the Ferrari pit there, absolutely delighted. Everyone's straining, looking at the monitors. And Alain Prost, well, what talent that man has. Prost on the slowing down lap now as Gerhard Berger goes out. Berger in the second of the two McLaren Hondas. The car designed by Neil Oatley. Still with a little bit of John Barnard influence in that overall design, I suspect. And he really does fling the car about, this Austrian from Bergel.
Well, the way Gerhard just chucks this car around, I sometimes wonder, is he a bit of a mountaineer? Because anytime he sees a curve, he wants to climb up it. Just every look, see the front wheel, the right front popping up in the air as the car went over the curve again in that slow right-hand corner, throwing the car across the curb. Now, normally, this usually indicates the lap is not going to be quite so quick. But you never can tell. Berger now behind Prost. Well, he pulled out of the way, letting Berger go through. But that actually is a distraction to the driver. When you're on a very, very quick lap, and you close quickly in another car like that, it means that you're not really concentrating on what you're doing. You're keeping an eye on what's ahead of you. Berger again having to get past Modena in the middle of the spoon corner, now onto the back straight, but a really nice clean exit. That is an ideal exit of the corner, contrast to what Alio did a few moments ago, going past one of the LaRue Lolas, now into this fast left-hand corner, up again the curb. Senna coming into the pits. Berger now almost completing it. Is he going to go up? Again, you see, look at him, right up those curves.
Well, the checkered flag's already out. This will be his last lap. We're watching the timing monitor. Berger goes fastest. Ron Dennis has seen it on his screen. We saw it on ours. Gerhard Berger is on the pole. Superdome Fiorio not happy about that at all. Berger does a 1:38.374. Gerhard Berger on the pole. Ayrton Senna pushed to the second row of the grid. Well, Gerhard slowing down. Let's take a look at all those times now. Berger on the pole, 1:38.374. Alain Prost second fastest, 1:38.684. Ayrton Senna third, 1:38.828, and fourth Mansell, 1:38.969. Fifth fastest, Thierry Boutsen, the only man on the 139 mark on 139.577. Jean Alesi, 140.052. Patrese, 140.355. And little Pierre Luigi Martini, 140.899. PK, ninth fastest, 141.041. 10th, Nakajima, good effort, 141.208. 11th, the other Japanese driver, Suzuki, 141.442. Warwick, 12th. Ivan Capelli, 13th. Moreno, good effort in the Benetton, 14th fastest. Mauricio Gugelmin, 15th. Bernard, 16th. 17th, Stefano Modena. And 18th, another good effort, Gianni Morbidelli in the Minardi for the first time. 19th, Johnny Herbert in the Lotus. 20th, David Brabham, that was a good effort too. Then Caffey, Alboreto, Larini, De Cesare. 25th, Oliver Gruillard. 26th, Philip Adio. And the four not qualified, Tarquini, Dalmas, Pirro and Gasho.
I would really like to win, and I will try to do everything to win, but on the other side it will be difficult, especially in the first corner. I don't want to be anywhere between Alan and Ayrton. I don't want to be in a difficult situation, so I will be careful. I'll try to be careful.
Well, an incident-packed first day of qualifying here at Suzuka. John, your view, particularly on Gerhard Berger's pole position?
Thank you. Well, Gerhard, as ever, was very spectacular. He uses a lot of curb. We saw it here, and especially those very fast sweeping right and left-hand corners just behind the pits. But it's Saturday that really, I think, will make the difference. And Ayrton Senna and Alan Prost, they will both want to demote Berger. Certainly Senna will want to be on the front row of the grid. Prost is there. And really the story of the race in Suzuka will be he who gets into the first corner first will have an enormous advantage. We know that Prost, Ferrari, is capable of beating a McLaren if it's in front. I'm not convinced that Senna could do the same thing, so he will want to get that first corner first. We'll have to wait until Saturday to see if he's going to get that chance.
Yes, John, all that on Eurosport, of course, and then the race on Sunday live. Don't miss it. Get up early in the morning to see if the World Championship is decided. Well, from John and me, it's goodbye for now.